This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. I love that Bob Dylan lyric. To me, what it really says is destination unknown. You can't tell what's going to happen tomorrow. You can't tell what's going to happen to people in your life. You can just go with it. You can just keep on keeping on. But picking tomorrow, predicting tomorrow, thinking that you actually have an explanation for how it is going to all unfold. Come on. You're kidding yourself and you know it. A lot of people are paid a lot of money to pretend that they think they can predict tomorrow. But it is pretending. No doubt about it. Before I get into a little bit more of that, though, let me give you the update. The fun stuff, the interesting stuff, not just the making money or understanding behavioral economics, the philosophy of trend following, the philosophy of living. Let me tell you about a first that happened to me the other day. I'm in Saigon, a big city. I'm right in the heart of what they call District 1. I'm in a taxi, driving through a very commercial area. The guy did not speak a lick of English, and that's okay. I speak barely a lick of Vietnamese. Taxi driver just pulls over to the side of the road, looks at me, jumps out of the car running, runs across the street to a gas station. I quickly realized where he was going. But I was thinking, wow, this is awesome. This is a first for me. Taxi driver leaving me in the car running, keys in the car, double parked on the side of a busy road. And he just ran in for a couple minutes. Now, I think if that happened in America, I'm sure some law would be violated. And perhaps there was a law violated in Vietnam. But you know what? I kind of like it. It's kind of cool, right? Just don't worry about all the bullshit. Take care of what you need to take care of. He sized me up. He realized I wasn't going to drive away with his car. Even if I did drive away with his car, where was the white guy, me, going to go in this taxi? Yeah, what does that have to do with trend following? Not much. But it's a fun story. Come on, has that happened to anybody else out there? Literally left you in the car with the keys running? Okay, let me get into the meat of what I wanted to talk about today. I'm not really sure why those were relevant, but people ask me these things, and I just want to kind of give little hints and tidbits. Because if you have the ability, if you have the luxury to do something drastically different, if you can work from anywhere in the world, and you are sitting somewhere on one of the coasts in America, if you're sitting in Middle America, if you're sitting somewhere in Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and you're a little bored, and you can be anywhere, get on a plane, my friend. Get on a plane and do something different right now. So here's where I want to go today. Since March of 2009, the official bottom in U.S. stocks have taken off on one massive trend, essentially straight up, with barely a hiccup. It's a trend following dream for stocks. Straight up. Basically, that's what you want. Now, I also see, though, that the fundamental guys, the buy and hold guys, the value guys, they look at the all-time highs in stocks, and they have a justification for it as well. Trend followers have no justification why stocks are at all-time highs. I have no clue. The most famous trend following traders in the world, if they're being honest, they have no clue why stocks are at all-time highs. But I'd like to know how you fundamental guys, how do you justify stocks at all-time highs? Think about all the words that have been uttered, the analysis, all of the, gosh, it's just got to be millions and millions and millions of words since March of 2009 to justify fundamentally why stocks are at all-time highs. I mean, a lot of people make a lot of money having a fundamental opinion as to why stocks are at all-time highs. Now, the other day I posted something on my blog, and I specifically said, since March of 2009, the number of words uttered to fundamentally justify all-time highs in stocks, ? I said, what will all those words count for if the S&P makes another 50% drop? There's been 2 50% drops in the last 15 years. What if there's a third? And I made the very blunt comment, anyone that is paid to give a fundamental opinion to predict tomorrow is full of shit. Now, of course, I know I'm going to get some reactions, and I got a few reactions. But I just don't understand. How is a fundamental guy, a fundamental analyst, a fundamental trader, what are you working from? So what I don't get is, how do you make these decisions? How do you make a fundamental decision in the face of a game where fundamentally the only thing you really have is, can you predict what the Federal Reserve will do next? Now, that is not fundamental analysis by any kind of Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger way. It's just not. It's BS. So when I see the fundamental guys say, hey, stocks are at all-time highs, buy and hold works. Hold on. That's not a justification for fundamental analysis. That's a justification for trend following. If stocks are at all-time highs. Because us trend followers, we don't know why they're all-time highs. And you fundamental guys, you're making it up. And that was the whole premise of me saying, what if? What if stocks dropped another 50% from here, like they have twice before in the last 15 years? If that happens again, I literally want to see the analysis of the words spoken. Think about all the justifications that have been used in the last 5 years to buttress why stocks are at all-time highs. Trend followers don't know, but the fundamental guys think they know. And if stocks do correct 50% from here, then what? 5 years of language on top of language, verbs, nouns, all of these complicated, intricate thoughts by all these smart people. And it was all for naught. It was all for a waste of time. It was all complete and utter bullshit. But as long as stocks are at all-time highs, they think their analysis is justifying it. But I say, no. It's justifying trend following, not fundamental analysis. Adding to this, I was emailing with Jerry Parker the other day. Jerry Parker, who is featured in my book, The Complete Turtle Trader. And Jerry emailed me. He said, quote, Chesapeake, his firm, and hopefully other CTAs, regulatory term for trend following traders, have killed this S&P trend, as we should have. Close your eyes, hold your nose, and just ride it, baby. It's a long-term trend, and I don't care how fake it is or has been. Most of the money I've made trend following has probably been on trends that were less legitimate than this one. Mixing political beliefs with your trend following systems will be disastrous. That's how we beat the macro guys. End quote. And Tom Basso, who's featured in the New Market Wizards book, he came on and he said, quote, perfectly executed trading and political analysis and the essence of trend following, end quote. David Cheval, whose late wife was one of the turtles who worked with Jerry Parker. David, a very bright guy himself. David came on my Facebook and he said, quote, not sure why one has to hold your nose. This has been a trend for years. Enjoy, end quote. I understand where Jerry Parker's coming from. He is saying it's very difficult from a fundamental perspective to justify why stocks are at all-time highs. Very difficult. So instead of trying to do that, Jerry is saying quite clearly, just hold your nose. Don't worry about all that stuff and just ride the trend. Now, I do see where David was coming from that holding your nose is not really relevant and not really a part of trend following. So I get both men's perspectives on where they're coming from. For all I know, they might have very different political perspectives. But they are both making the same point, along with Tom Basso. Ride the trend and don't be blurred by the other things. Again, I thought that example was great to add into my original thought of what happens if stocks correct 50%. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not making a prediction. I'm just looking at a scenario analysis and saying, what are all the potential outcomes? And clearly, one of the potential outcomes is for stocks to correct 50%. We've seen it twice. And if it does happen, again, what is all the fundamental analysis worth? Not much. Building on those two thoughts, I want to dovetail into a little football, specifically Chip Kelly and the Philadelphia Eagles. More specifically, Hal Mumme and Mike Leach, who both, a few years ago, really made the University of Kentucky's football team go crazy. And their going crazy there, Leach and Mumme, influenced all these other coaches like Chip Kelly. And the bottom line is that Leach and Mumme figured out something. And Leach said it quite clearly. Quote, "The more shots on goal you get, the better. That's how we saw it. And with so many people touching the ball, it elevates the enthusiasm of the whole team," end quote. I just love that. The more shots on goal you get, the better. It's the reason why you can't be a trend following trader on one market alone. You just can't be. You need opportunity. If you trade one market, you're limited to one opportunity. It's like running the fullback straight ahead for 3 yards every play. That is a bad strategy. You need to diversify the opportunity. Now, whether that diversification is a classic trend following mixed portfolio of financials, currencies, agriculturals, commodities, or you've got a mixed equity portfolio where your correlations are not all exactly the same. Either way, that's what you're gaming for. You're gaming to put yourself in a position of not knowing what's going to happen. Again, building on what I've talked about throughout this podcast, no one can predict tomorrow. So what's the strategy? If you can't predict tomorrow, if you just don't know what's going to happen, what can you do? You can take what's given. You can take the trend that arrives. Leach is clearly saying, I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm going to take a lot of shots. The more shots I can take, if they don't work, that's fine. But the more shots that I can take, the better chance that I have of a score, of a touchdown. That's what he's doing. It's the same thing in trend following trading. So instead of trying to justify why stocks are at all-time highs, which nobody can really give any kind of a justification, how can you give a justification of stocks being at all-time highs? Think about it. Now, I'm going to read something that is definitely, I don't know, people can interpret this as political. I don't.
Mother, should I run for president?
When the most persistent, most aggressive, and most sizable actions of the policymakers are those that discourage saving, promote debt finance consumption, and encourage the diversion of scarce savings to yield-seeking financial speculation rather than productive investment, the backbone that supports a rising standard of living is broken.
Mother, should I trust the government?
Now that's a quote from John Hussman. John Hussman is not the style of trading that I talk about. John has his system.
Mother, will they put me in the firing line?
But he sticks to his guns. He has his process. He is simply saying that when you have a government, a Federal Reserve, that is jerry-rigging the interest rates, who knows what you get? Again, back to my point. As a fundamental analyst, how can you make a prediction? How can you know? The only thing you're left to do these days is guess. Guess what the Federal Reserve is going to do next. And why should you be paid so much money? Why should anyone listen to you if that's all you're doing? If all you're doing is attempting to guess what a bunch of suits in DC are going to do next. Come on. A slight diversion, but I wanted to make that point. Now again, is John Hussman's point critical for being a trend-following trader? No. But I wear two hats here. I talk about trend-following trading, but I also talk about right and wrong. And we all know it's not a good thing that governments take the interest rate curve and rig it to get people to speculate. We all know how that ends. We don't know when it ends. We don't know what it's going to look like, but you have to be prepared. Let me jump back to the football example for a second. I mentioned that Mike Leach and Hal Mumme were both influential on many other coaches. And I want to read a quote from Philadelphia coach Chip Kelly. This is on his offensive diversity, or as I say, how you take what is given, i.e. trend following. Kelly says, quote, "We are equal opportunity distributors. How do you want to defend us? It doesn't matter. If there's a matchup we can exploit, we'll exploit it. We don't have a set number of touches that this needs to go here, this needs to go there. A lot of times it's different guys, different games. And one game, it's one guy. Another game, it's another guy. So it's not by design that we're trying to go one way or the other. In the 4 years at Oregon, 1 year the leading receiver was a wide receiver. 1 year it was a tight end. 1 year it was a running back. Here's what happened at Oregon. We were up 50 points in a lot of games, so we threw the ball less than ever. And I had that question last year 1,000 times, that you really emphasized the run. Well, when the score is 50-3 at halftime, we're not coming out in the second half and jacking the ball around. So we had some running backs that were seventh string, that were our scout squad guys that got more touches than the all-conference receivers in a game. And that's because the game itself dictated that. I hope our running backs carry the ball more than we throw the ball this year in every single game. Because if they do, that means we are winning every single game." End quote. Again, Kelly is taking what's given. It doesn't make a difference what the defense does, because if the defense tries to stop you on one place, they're giving up an opportunity somewhere else. If trend following is not working in this market right here, it's going to be working somewhere else. But you have to have diversification to be ready to participate. Again, if you're thinking one market alone, narrowly one market alone, and that's all you want to do, and I get these questions, Mike, can I be a trend following trader on this one stock that I love? And the answer is no. You can't be a trend following trader on the one stock that you love. Impossible. There are no targets of opportunity in that, to quote Bill Dunn. I hope I've given some good food for thought today, and I want to leave on a little motivational. Couple quotes. One from Hunter S. Thompson. I don't like the way Hunter S. Thompson took his own life, but he was definitely a wild guy. And I love this quote. "A man who procrastinates in his choosing will inevitably have his life choice made for him by circumstance. So if you now number yourself among the disenchanted, then you have no choice but to accept things as they are, or to seriously seek something else. But beware of looking for goals. Look for a way of life. Decide how you want to live and then see what you can do to make a living within that way of life. But you say, I don't know where to look. I don't know what to look for. And there's the crux. Is it worth giving up what I have to look for something better? ? I don't know. Is it? Who can make that decision but you? But even by deciding to look, you go a long way towards making the choice. That's all I'm trying to do today, is offer some inspiration. Stocks are at all-time highs. Could they go down 50%? And if they go down 50%, what does it mean for all of the analysis of the last 5 years? One last thought. As Buddha says, live like a mighty river. And as the old Greeks said, live as though all your ancestors were living again through you. If you have that attitude, you have a chance. It might not work out for you every day. It might not work out for you every week, month, or year. But that's not the point. Live like a mighty river. Have your process. Go with the flow. I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.